Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 5th London ePay Summit. Delighted to have you all here today. We're going to have a great day. My name is Angela Yor. I'm your show host for today. Actually honoured to be that. I'm here really just to make sure that things run smoothly. So if they don't, come and find me and I'll try and sort it out. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have a public relations consultancy, which I've been running for 16 years, which focuses in on payments, called Sky Parlour. I'm also on the advisory board of the Payments Association, and I'm also the chair of the European Women in Payments Network. So if any of those things are of interest to you, please, again, I'd love to meet you, meet new people, chat, network, do what we do at these events, which is wonderful. We've got a fantastic day today for you, a really fun-packed day as well. We have drinks this evening from 5:30, but before then we've got some incredible speakers. I'm just looking around the room here and I can see some of them. We're starting talking about the macro trends, so what's happening in e-commerce payments, and then we're going to drill down into different very important topics. But there is a few bits of housekeeping which I need to go through. I think the first thing is first, there is an app, which I don't know if any of you have downloaded. It's called ePay Summit app. Just download that. It has the program on there, but also you can connect with people that you might want to meet today. It's got everything you need. So, please download that. We have quite a lot of networking breaks as well. So we have a break mid-morning, then we have lunch, then we have a break in the afternoon, and then drinks in the evening as well. And it says here, fire safety. If there is any alarm, please proceed to the exit via the fire exit signs. I don't know where they are, but I will try and find them for when I get back on stage next time. What can I say? What can I say about our industry, e-commerce payments? It's a fantastic industry, continuing to grow, but the growth is slowing. But, McKinsey here is saying that there's 2.5 trillion in revenue in our industry. We all talk about fintech. Payments is 50% plus of the fintech industry, so it's a crucial and very important part of what we do, and it's continuing to innovate. You're going to hear a lot about that, as we go along. 2 quadrillion in money flows. Quadrillion, I can't even fathom what that is. That's such a lot. And 3.6 trillion transactions happen globally, according to McKinsey. And as we know, I've been in this industry now for some time. It's constantly changing. The big things now, of course, the elephant in the room we're all talking about, we're all using, we're all experimenting with, is, of course, how AI and agentic AI is going to impact payments. We have a session on that, so that will be brilliant to hear. But also, there's regulation happening everywhere. Across the globe, there's all sorts of infrastructure projects happening. We have in the UK, we have the National Payments Vision, which is underway, which is going to give us an infrastructure which is future-proof for the next 15 years, hopefully, and it's going to cover things like competition, resilience, and innovation. So expect to see other elements of payments, stable coins and open banking, A2A payments, all of these different innovations, embedded finance, they're all being considered when we look at the new national payments vision. But, many countries around the world have these same projects going on at the moment, and some are further advanced. As we know, Pix in Brazil is a great example of A2A payments, as is UPI in India, and other Brussels and Belgium also has a great system. So I won't go on because I could stand here all day talking about my favourite subject, which is payments. But I'd like to introduce to the stage the first speaker. So our first speaker is Richard Lim, and he's the CEO of Retail Economics. And Richard, he's going to start with the first keynote, is going to talk about e-commerce growth trends, looking into 2026 and beyond. And I heard him speak at the last event. He's very clever, smart, and he'll be very inspirational for us all. So if I can just welcome Richard to the stage, I'll just ask you sort of a quick few questions. It's really important for us today. This is like a lovely intimate room we're in here. We've got two people with roving mics. Let's challenge, let's debate, this will be fun if we all get involved. If you don't want to ask a question, if you'd rather not sort of put yourself in the arena to ask a question, although that's great to get noticed, if you're here to be noticed, then please ask a question. But on the app, you can also, type in your question as well, and from that we will be able to sort of answer it. But if you don't agree, tell us. Let's challenge. If we challenge, we get perfection, and that's what we want. We want perfection. We want our industry to continue to thrive. So let's try not to be too English about it today, and please ask the questions. So Richard, come to the stage. Thank you. So what do you hope to gain from today's session?
Well, I like the challenge.
I know. Maybe I should challenge you a bit more, but anyway, that's a good start.
I like the challenge thing. What do I want to get? I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn. I'm here to network. I want to understand what's happening within the payment space, give my view of how we see the evolution of the sector, waves of disruption. It's just such an interesting time to work in retail. So, yeah, here to learn, really.
Well, thank you. We're really excited about your session. So without further ado, please take the stage, and I will leave the stage.
Thank you very much. Right. Well, thank you very much. Following on from Angela, what a time it is to be working in the sector. There is so much happening within the industry at the moment. I think there are three major waves of disruption within the sector at the moment, some of which are payment related, some of which aren't payment related, but from a macro perspective, these are the kinds of waves of disruption that I see within the industry. So the first wave around, navigate around here. The first wave is around customer disruption. So there's so much that's happening within this disruptive space of how consumers shop, changing the customer journey. So international competition is one example. So we've seen the likes of Shein and Temu that have entered the market. They've got a proposition that's really resonated with customers. For example, if you look at Shein, some estimates put them as the 7th largest clothing and footwear retailer in the UK already. So there's lots of disruption going on in that space. We've got pre-loved and marketplaces like Vinted and Depop that's really got huge momentum around that circular economy. Our research shows that about 50% of people have bought something secondhand in the last 12 months. Over 50% almost 50% of consumers have sold something secondhand in the last 12 months as well. So there's this huge energy around e-commerce that's gathering huge momentum. We've got social commerce as well. So TikTok is changing the way that consumers are discovering, researching, and purchasing products. Our estimates suggest that TikTok, or social commerce in general, is worth about £9 billion in the retail sector today. It accounts for about 7.5% of e-commerce sales. So huge momentum. We think that it's going to more than double over the next 4 to 5 years. So a lot of opportunity around that space. Operational disruption. And so whether that is tariffs, budget, the impact of the budget, regulation, that might be packaging tax, but the overall environment is one where retailers are operating in a much more fiercely competitive environment, but where costs are rising as well. If you look at the top 150 retailers in the UK, what we've seen is pre-tax profit margins halve over the last 10 years. They've halved. They've gone from 10.5% to about 5.5%. And they're dealing with these waves of rising costs. And if you look at the costs that have come through just from the budget, national insurance, living wage, business rates, it's added about £5.6 billion worth of cost to the industry against that environment of squeezed margins. So actually, businesses really focusing, laser-like focus on profitability, Where can they save money? Where can they drive operational efficiencies? Where might they be able to use things like Gen AI? How can they build payments resilience into their business model to ensure that they can capture all of those sales as well? And then finally, technical disruption. So we've got AI-assisted commerce. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, but GPT being that front runner that's really disrupting that order of events where consumers are using platforms like GPT to discover and research products and increasingly using it as a channel for growth as well. So if you look at Walmart in the US, they see 20% of their traffic, website traffic, being driven by these Gen AI platforms, 20%. They've partnered recently, they announced a partnership with OpenAI just in the last week, where they're using ChatGPT as a way to discover products, add things to basket, purchase things on ChatGPT without ever having to go to the website. Perplexity Pro in the US also allows consumers to do this. So if you're in the US using Perplexity, you can write a prompt, might be something around, I'm looking to do some landscape gardening, what do I need, list things out, you can add things straight to basket within Perplexity, again, check out straight away. GPT launched their AI agent just a couple of months ago, and again, I don't know if anyone's had a chance to experiment with this, with anyone? ChatGPT's AI agent, anyone used it? A couple people? You can go on there, I'm looking to buy my mum some flowers, I want to spend £50, I need next day delivery, and the agent goes off and then looks around the internet, scours the internet, and it can come back with suggestions and ideas. All of that is having an enormous impact on the customer journey. And actually, the complexity of the customer journey is making it so difficult for retailers to adapt their business models and react to just this additional layers and layers of complexity. And it's the variability in the customer journey that retailers are really struggling to deal with. It made me think about my mum. So this is my mum. She was 80 this year. If I think about my mum and how she shops, it hasn't really changed in about 50 years. So my mum will be in front of the TV watching Corrie, and then she'll see an advert on TV and actually it might inspire her to go off and do something. She'll jump on the bus, she'll head into town, she'll probably go to M&S. She wants that physical experience though. She wants to touch and feel the product. She wants to try it on. She wants to go into a changing room, and then she'll probably go over to John Lewis. It's her favorite retailer. So you go to John Lewis, you do the same thing. She wants to go into a changing room, try it on, and then she'll buy it, gets neatly folded up into a paper bag, and she hops on the bus and she goes home. That is her customer journey. Very simple, very one-dimensional, and pretty much all revolves around the physical environment of the store. Hasn't changed for 50 years. Her granddaughter couldn't be more different. For the 3 hours a day that she spends on TikTok, scrolling through endlessly on TikTok, and we know that 90% of UK consumers have social media platforms. The average time spent on social media is about 2.5 hours a day. For Gen Zs, who are TikTok users, it's almost 3 hours on TikTok. So for the 3 hours a day, genuinely, she might spend on TikTok scrolling through products. She might then decide to go through TikTok Shop and buy something in store. TikTok Shop, 3 clicks. If she's got her Apple Wallet, Apple Pay set up on her phone, 3 clicks and it's added to basket, and she's going through and she's purchasing something. It might inspire her, though, to go into a physical environment. So she's a Gen Z. She wants that physical environment, but she wants that immersive experience. She wants to go to a flagship destination. She wants to go to Leeds Trinity, Birmingham Bullring, Regent Street, one of the Westfields. She wants to have that immersive experience that actually means something to her, to immerse herself in that brand. Inevitably, though, she gets out her phone. She's on Google. She's doing price comparison. She wants to see what else is out there, all of the different options. And actually, her Google search gives her an AI overview, and she decides, actually, I'll go to a marketplace. I'll see whether there's other options available. What can I get in terms of the best price? She might then get out her GPT stylist that she's created. She'll take photos, load it onto GPT. It will tell her about whether that particular garment meets her style and the trend that she's looking for. She'll then go to Instagram because it's more social approval. She wants that social approval. She'll check out other styles. She might even then decide to buy something on Instagram. And then when she gets home, she's watching Love Island on demand on her tablet. It's a personalized advert because it knows what she watches and what she likes. And that inspires her to actually, I'll go back to M&S. She's a Gen Z though, so she buys 3 dresses with the intention of keeping one of them. She's a serial returner. And actually, serial returners cost the industry £27 billion a year. But she orders 3 things with the intention of keeping one of them. She gets it delivered to a click and collect location near to where she works. And then she'll take some more pictures on TikTok, post them on TikTok, and she'll return the other 2 dresses that she doesn't want to a locker near to where she lives. And then she'll do all of that knowing full well that the dress that she actually bought, she'll probably end up selling in about 6 to 9 weeks' time after she's worn it, taken a few pictures on Vinted. And she knows that she can sell it because it's seamless. Seamless to sell it on Vinted, easy to get a proportion of her money back. And actually, her perception of value of clothing has changed. It's different from my mum's. She knows that she can sell it, and so the residual value that she's considering in that dress means that she might pay more for the dress because she knows that she can sell it in just a few weeks' time. That variability in the customer journey between the mother and my niece, or my mum and my niece, we've never had before. We've never had that kind of variability in the customer journey where my niece will seamlessly bounce between digital and physical channels on her path to purchase across different channels, different devices, different platforms in a way that suits her. And her expectations of that journey, that seamless journey across all of those different touch points, is so much higher than my mum's. She wants it seamless. She wants to be able to pay how she wants to pay. She wants consistency across different platforms, across different channels in a way that suits her. And so rising to meet those expectations again is something that's super challenging for the industry. At the same time, we've got Gen AI. And so Gen AI, you can't do a presentation without talking about Gen AI. It's already been mentioned, you have to talk about it. But for me, I genuinely believe that we're seeing the biggest disruption across the sector that I've witnessed, of course, since the internet. And so Gen AI is changing at warp speed. It's almost like you need a full-time job just to keep up with the changes that are happening with the industry. And a quick history tour of what's happening within the industry. But if I think about how much the industry has changed over the last 30 years, it's almost unrecognizable. So the industry that I grew up in as a teenager in 1995, when I'll be popping into Burton's to buy some jeans, going into R Price to buy some, remember R Price for records? And then I'll be going into Woolies to get my pick and mix. But essentially, that kind of evolution of the industry has changed rapidly. And so we've gone from all of these different stages, and I do believe that we're now onto this stage of agentic retail. I believe that there's going to be 4 major stages of agentic. And so the first stage is around AI-assisted commerce. This is where we are today. Consumers using ChatGPT to research and increasingly purchase products. We're moving into semi-autonomous agents, where you can use platforms like GPT to get their agent to go off and do different things. We're actually in this stage of a bit like browser wars at the moment. So I don't know if anyone's used Comet. There's a new browser that's been released by Anthropic, which is the makers of Claude. GPT have just released a new browser as well. So you can go onto a browser, you can bring up the AI assistant, and you can ask it to summarize a web page. You can ask it for what's the returns policy, all of these different things, but we're entering a stage of kind of a new wave of browsers, and then quickly onto fully agentic, and then agent to agent. If I was going to say fully agentic, one thing for me is, does anyone really enjoy renewing their car insurance or their home insurance, or having to make that call to Sky to threaten that you're going to leave them so they can give you a better price? So I'll be quite happy to outsource all of that to my AI agent, to say, as long as I get the same price or less than last year for my car insurance, with an insurance provider that has at least 4.5 stars on Trustpilot, actually I'll be quite happy to outsource that kind of activity to an AI agent. And I can see there being a lot more around there. We've already had the AI overview in Google. That's changed. That's been the biggest change to search that we've seen for 25 years. And so again, we're seeing this kind of evolution of what's happening within search in that space, but how are retailers going to be discovered by not just, how can they be discovered not just by humans, but also by robots as well? Announcement of GPT and Shopify as well that could further change things. Just end on a couple of notes. Firstly, the big question is how quickly this is going to happen. This is the kind of normal technology adoption curve that we've seen for kind of most technologies. Think about this as the adoption of the iPhone or the smartphone. I think AI is going to probably look a bit more like this, where actually the adoption is going to happen a lot quicker, partly because AI is already embedded in so much of what we already use. So search is a good example of that. But also, I think the education system is going to play a big role as well. So I wear a different hat where I sit on the strategic advisory board of the University of East Anglia. We spend a lot of time talking about students and how they're using AI. And actually, there's going to be a generation, that generation alpha, that's going to leave university, and they will be AI first. Using things like AI agents will come a second nature. So I think there's going to have to be these 4 stages of AI. We're seeing enormous growth in terms of technology and the power of technology. And just leave you with a final comment around just the impact of Gen AI from Amazon CEO. So I hope that was interesting. That's me, shameless self-promotion. Follow me on LinkedIn. If you found that interesting, please drop me a note. There's a QR code that will take you through to my LinkedIn page. And if you want a copy of the slides as well, then please do just drop me a note, send me a note on LinkedIn, send me an email. Happy to share the slides as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So, Richard, you don't think the bubble is going to burst then? You don't think that we're heading to this big .com bubble that we saw in the North?
In terms of the financial markets, I think there will be a correction.
Yeah.
I think there will be a correction. I think that's inevitable. There will be some kind of correction. In terms of how AI is going, the adoption of AI and how it's going to infiltrate pretty much every corner of the economy and our lives,
Yeah.
then I think that I think that that's going to be fundamental to reshaping the labour market, reshaping the consumer market, and just reshaping every part of our lives.
And one quick question, I'm making the time situation even worse here, and that's the only reason why I'm here, is to keep us on time, is where do you sit then? You've got your mum at one end shopping, and you've got your niece at the other doing all sorts with her shopping journey.
In reality, I'm probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But being in the industry, I have to experiment. I have to learn. I have to go out and try these different things. So I'm probably closer to my niece. I'm on TikTok. I've bought things off of TikTok Shop. I've bought things and researched things off of ChatGPT and other platforms. So I'm probably a bit, but my average everyday kind of purchases, I'd say, I'm probably bang in the middle.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. That was wonderful.
Brilliant. Thank
you know where to get Richard in the break as well. So let's go on to the